Hello, boys and girls, and welcome back to another high-touch, high-tech lesson named Float Your Boat. You probably guessed about what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about floats and how they boats. Just kidding. We're going to talk about boats and how it is that they're able to float. But before we start the experiment, grab this bag. It's the bag that doesn't have a green top, a green lid. It's pretty simple to find. Also within it, you'll find some little pieces of wood, a bag of glue, toothpicks, a piece of foam, a little piece of rock, among other stuff. That is the bag to grab. And then inside of our envelope, there's several things that we need to grab, which are these two pieces of foam. They're kind of long, okay? And then there is the long chopstick that are pointy on both ends. And then there is a piece of cardboard that we need from inside of that envelope. And then finally, there is a piece of paper that has a pirate symbol on it. Yep, we need this guy as well. And not included, we will be needing this cup of water. We need a pair of scissors, some sort of a heavier type of book. You could do two types of books, but as long as it's semi-heavy, that'll be pretty good. Also, we need a baking pan of some sort or anything that's like this that you might have at home. We will also be filling it with water later on, okay? But lastly, we'll be needing some dish soap. And I would say grab a little cup because we're gonna put that dish soap inside of this little mini cup. Any small cup that you might have, we're gonna put it inside of there. And once you have all of those, have you ever noticed how when you look at things that go on top of water, some of them, they float while others sink? Yeah, you know what? I did notice that. Why is that? Well, Mega Manoa, let me explain. You see, everything in the world is made out of these tiny things called molecules. And these molecules can either be super close together or far from each other. And the objects that have their molecules super close together are what we call more dense. While the objects that are a lot farther from each other, the molecules are farther from each other, we call them less dense. And density has a lot to do with why things are able to float or sink. Let's do a quick experiment to see how this works. Go ahead and grab yourself your cup of water, and then also grab inside of your bag the rock and the piece of foam. So with these, cup of water, rock, and the foam, we're gonna put it inside of the cup of water and see which one's gonna float, which one's gonna sink. You might already know this, but let's examine these two objects. You could already tell by squeezing them that one has the molecules super close together and the other one are a little bit more spread apart. Watch, take these two, squeeze one. Take your rock, squeeze it. Does it feel like you could squeeze it at all? No, it's already closely tight and packed together. So this is what we call more dense. Whereas with the foam, squeeze it, look at that. There's room to squeeze and room to spread. Because it's able to spread apart and because you're even able to squeeze it, that means this is not that closely tight and packed together. So this is what we would call less dense. So we got more dense object and an object that is less dense. But if you put it in water, what's gonna happen? Let's see. Grab your cup of water. Let's see what happens with the rock. Let's drop it in. Ready, get set, and that sank. It sank to the bottom for sure. But what about the foam? The one that's less dense. Let's see what happens if it goes inside. It definitely floated. So the object that was more dense definitely sank, and the object that was less dense started to float. So again, it depends on the molecules that they're made out of. If they're super closely tight and packed together, for sure they're always gonna sink. So just remember that. Things that are more dense always sink, while things that are less dense will always float. Believe it or not, people have been using boats for thousands of years. The earliest that we know of dating back to about 8,000 years ago. It's a long time ago. what do they use to build? Well, things that we call dugouts. They're basically like canoes, and the way that they would build them is they would take a giant tree trunk and carve out the inside. Take it out so that it's nice and hollow, kind of like a shell, and they made sure that it was light enough to be able to float. And then they would use it, to float on the water, making a boat, right? This cool little dugout. But from then on, people started to upgrade things, make it a lot better. They would build things like rafts and reed boats. These reed boats would be built from plants like papyrus, right? That's what the ancient Egyptians used to do. And not only them, even people down in South America, even Scandinavia, all sorts of different types of rafts that people would use. And from then on, of course, things got better and better. And these boats would come in different shapes, right? And even in different sizes. Some boats would only be for one person, while others would be for many people, like cruise ships, giant, enormous seafaring cities that could hold thousands of people. That's huge, that's crazy. So again, it all differs from time to time, but of course it gets better and better as time goes, right? So seeing all these different types of boats, you can kind of break it down into three main types of boats. One being human powered, like canoes, kayaks, gondolas. Those are all human powered because you gotta use a little bit of power from your human body, right, to move and to paddle and to row, right, to move you forward. But then there are also boats that are what we call sailboats, and sailboats would have a giant sail mast that would use the wind to push it forward, right? And then there are types of boats that we call motor boats, which are boats that move forward by using some sort of motor. Now that we talked all about that, let's build our very own sailboat. Arr, matey, let's make a sailboat here. Grab the piece of paper that has the pirate ship emblem on it. Oh no. Grab the pair of scissors, the cardboard piece, also the 2 rubber bands that were inside of your bag. It might be a different color. There were also 2 pieces of stick inside of your bag, one short, thin stick, and then one that was more flat. There was also a bag of glue in there. And in your envelope, there was this long piece of chopstick that has pointy ends on both sides. And then also there were 2 pieces of foam that were very long, that were cut in half already inside of your white envelope. And not included that we do need today is some sort of heavy book or multiple books that you want. It doesn't need to be too heavy though. Anyway, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take care of the things that need some glue, which are the rudder, and then also the bottom of the boat, which is this foam piece that will keep it afloat. So what we're gonna do here is let's make our rudder first. Grab the 2 smaller pieces of wood here. You'll notice that on the thin one, there's a part of it that's already been cut out. So guess what? This flat piece of wood is gonna go right on top of there. See that? It's gonna go right on top of there. Now, the part that we want on the front, close to the thin wood from this flat wood, is the part that pokes out. You'll see one part pokes out and one part caves in, like that. See that? So the part that's pointing out is gonna be on the front end of the thinner stick. So we're gonna put it like that, and we're just gonna glue it like that. So we're just gonna take some glue, put it right on top of there, and put it flat, and the rubber bands will help us to keep it still. So let's get our bag of glue. As usual, turn it to the side, squeeze one of the corners to get the glue out of the way, and take your pair of scissors and cut a little piece off of that edge, okay? And once you do that, then we're going to be putting, remember, on your stick, there's a little part that's already been cut out. I'm gonna put glue right on top of there. Okay, after that, then find the flat stick, right? And find the part that's more pointy and put that towards the front and put it right on top. See that? Just like that. Now, we want this to stay there for a while. So we're gonna use our rubber bands to help us keep it still. Let's do it just putting it on. Maybe that's easier. Okay, stay on there. There we go. Ta-da! That was a lot easier. Just take the rubber band, put it on the little divot, put your finger on top. See how I did that? And then stretch your rubber band until it goes to the bottom one. See that? Now it's gonna hold it nice and still onto there to keep our glue right on top of our pieces of wood. Okay, and you can actually just leave it there so they'll always stay nice and tight against each other, like so. So this is the rudder. This will be going on the bottom. So once we have put this together, let's just leave it to the side to let it dry for a bit. But now we're gonna make the other part of the bottom of the boat, which are the flotation devices, which are these foam pieces. As we saw in our previous experiment, they are less dense, and so they will help our boat to float. Okay, so the way that we're gonna do this is, it doesn't really matter which side is the top or the bottom, okay, but whichever part you put these foam pieces on, that'll be the bottom, okay? So as you can see, I've placed it on the edge of my cardboard piece, and so to put them on, we're just gonna put some glue right on the edges, put it on there, and then we're gonna do the same thing with both, okay? So go ahead and grab your glue again, spread it all the way from top to bottom. Same thing with this one. And with that, go ahead and take it and put it on the edge, like so. And while that's going on, do the same thing with the other one. And once you've done that, then flip it over and put it right to the edge, like so. So we want this to really stick nice and firm against the cardboard piece. So this is where the heavier book is needed. Just go ahead and flip that over, okay? And then put the heavy book on top. See, so that way it really pushes the foams together against our cardboard piece. So we're just gonna let that dry there. And we're gonna put our rudder over there. And now we're gonna take care of our sail, our little mast that we have here. That's a pirate, has a pirate emblem on it. So what we wanna do first is we wanna cut out the edges of this piece of paper, like this. Ta-da! So like so, we just cut very, very simply right around the edges like that. You'll notice there's also two holes, one on the top and one on the bottom that we see here. And what we're gonna do is we are going to poke this chopstick right through it. You'll also notice that with this chopstick, it's pointy on the top and pointy on the bottom, but on one side of it, there's a little part that kind of is already cut out, so you can see that it pops out just a little bit. On the other side, it's just nice and smooth, but on this side, it pops out just a little bit. So we're gonna consider that as the bottom, okay? So holding the bottom, we're going to be pushing this chopstick through these holes. So find the front side of your sail, not this part, okay? But the front side. And you're gonna poke it through the front side of the bottom hole. See how I did that? And then poke it through. Okay, wiggle it about so it could go all the way through. And then we're going to poke it from the back side of the sail through the upper hole. Okay, so just poke it through right over here on the back side. Ta-da! And notice I didn't poke it all the way down. I didn't pull the sail all the way down, but it's just kind of close to the bottom, while same thing with the top, but it's kind of close to the top. And the reason why we want to do this is because we want it to cave in like this so that once we put it on the water, we could use the air, whether it's from the wind or from your breath. The air is gonna push it forward because that's what sailboats do. They use the power of the wind to push it forward. Okay, so we got a nice looking sail going on here. Now all we need to do is just put it on our boat. All right, so by this time your boat should be a little bit more stuck together because we put that heavy book on top and it's nice and well right on there. And so we will be putting the sail right in the middle one while we put the rudder on the back one. Now this one doesn't go on the top, it goes on the bottom. Remember, the bottom is the side of the foam, but I'm not gonna put this on first. First, I'm gonna put on my sail. Now, you can see again, there's a little part of the wood that pops out right here. That's gonna be the edge that will be the bottom, meeting the bottom of the surface of this cardboard. So go ahead and take that, poke it right through the middle. Again, and just keep on going, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going, wiggle it about until it reaches there. Now, you might notice that maybe sometimes the stick comes out too far, and if it does, then what you could do is you could just take your scissors and cut it off. But mine is not far enough, so mine's actually pretty good. Okay, so I don't need to cut it off, okay? And so now that I have that going on, now we need the rudder. And this is what they use to steer the boat as to going left or right. Okay, so depending on which direction it's at, if it goes this way, it's gonna start turning towards the left like that. Okay, so we're gonna put it from underneath on the bottom. Okay, so not from the top, but on the bottom. You'll see the hole right there. Poke it in, and it's gonna be facing backwards. Okay, so you want it so that it's facing backwards like so, and it's okay that it sticks out a little bit past these foam pieces, as you can see, right? It's a little bit lower. You could mess around with it, maybe push it up, maybe push it down a little bit farther. You know, try it out inside of the water once you go in the bathtub or in the pool. So that being said, once you've made your cool little pirate boat, your sailboat that we have here, now is the time to test it. Now, if you guys don't have a swimming pool, then what you could do is you could put it while you're taking a bath, or even you could kind of get water inside of a sink or even in a bucket, any sort of thing, and put it on there. And if it's not moving, all you need to do is just blow on it and let it go. But if you do have a pool, then let's see what happens if we put it inside of a pool. We're out here to sail the 7 seas. It's a swimming pool, sorry. But we definitely can do this outside. The reason why it's awesome outside is because there's a lot of wind. There's more wind than there is inside, and it's gonna probably push our boat in. But something cool you could do before you put it in is you can move your rudder so it's not just straight. You can move it to the side so it will come back to you, so you don't have to go all the way in, unless you're already in the pool, which would be cool, right? But you can move the rudder whichever direction. I'm gonna move mine towards the right, so hopefully it will make it go back towards me. And all I need to do is just take my boat and put it in, and let's see what happens. And if it doesn't move, you could, ta-da, you see that? Oh, it wants to go the other way. Okay, you could go the other way. There you go. Oh yeah. Bye-bye. See you later. But as you can see, the wind is blowing it by the mast, by the sail, and then it's moving whichever direction the wind is blowing it. Pretty cool, right? Oh, there you go. We got a good gust going on, and sayonara! As we have learned before, propulsion is a force that moves things forward, like rockets, jet planes, and even the boats. But believe it or not, even soap can propel things forward. It can provide some propulsion to move things forward. Soap? That's impossible. Not true, Mini Manoa. It is absolutely possible. We can do it with a simple dish soap like this. Once you put it in, it's gonna provide it some propulsion. Oh, this I've gotta see. And see it you will. All you guys need is to grab those toothpicks from inside of the bag, grab your own dish soap, maybe grab a little tiny cup, because that way we could put it inside of this little mini cup. And once you got those, let's get started. So again, for this experiment, you do need some sort of baking pan like this, or a large container, the toothpicks that came from inside of the bag, and also dish soap of your own. And we need the water. You could use the same water that we used for the first experiment, where we made the foam float and the the rock sink. But if you do need some extra water, just get a bottle of water handy next to you, okay? But just take that water and just go ahead and pour it right inside of the baking container. And to know just about how much water we need, if you take your finger and just kind of stick it in, just as long as it's halfway up to your fingernail or even up to as high as where your fingernail is, that's really all you need. But as you can see, it's not really that much. So just to be a little bit safe, I'm just gonna add a little bit more, keep my finger in there, just add a little bit more. You don't need a lot of water really. That's good enough. It doesn't need to go to the very top of my finger, okay? So anyway, now that we have the water, what we're going to do now is we're gonna see how the soap is going to propel our toothpick. And even with this one too, you don't need a lot of dish soap. You just need a little bit. But before we even start that, let's see that without the soap, nothing really happens with our toothpick. So here we go, ready? Set, and nothing at all. It's not moving, it's not being propelled forward. There's no propulsion going on. But let's try it with some soap now. So technically what you could do is you could just kind of tilt your soap bottle and then dip it in, or you could get a little mini cup and just kind of put the soap in there so it's easier to dip your toothpick in. But again, you don't need a lot of dish soap at all. Okay, I barely put any dish soap inside of there. And all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna dip it just the tip in. Okay, now I got a little bit of soap right on there. And if you need just a little bit more, maybe tilt it to the side, get a little bit more of that soap, a good amount, okay? That should be more than good enough. Now, mind you, where we put the soap is gonna be the engine that's gonna propel it forward. So that's the back, and the front is where there is no soap, okay? So once you are ready, then all we need to do is just put it onto there and watch the magic happen. Ready? Get set, and... Did you see that? It not only moved this one, but it also propelled this one. So again, like I told you, Mega Manoa, through propulsion, we're able to see that it moved it forward, right? The soap propelled it forward, it moved it forward, and there you go. Now, if you want to do this again, you can't just take another one and put it in. It's not really gonna work. You gotta empty out the water. I would say even rinse your baking pan with some water and then try it again with some fresh water, and it should happen once again. So you might be wondering, what just happened? How was it able to move forward? Well, the thing is, there is something going on in the water which is called surface tension. All the water molecules are sticking tightly together. But once we add the soap into it, it breaks it apart, it loosens up those water molecules. But while it's moving, separating, notice what's going on. It's separating and it's moving. So that's what was going on the surface. It was breaking apart the water molecules on the top, and that's what moved these toothpicks forward. And now that it's broken, we can't use it again. So that's why we need fresh batch of water. And so I would even again recommend to rinse out your baking pan, and with fresh water on top, you could do it again. Just take your toothpick, maybe wipe it off, maybe grab a new toothpick, dip it in some soap, and try it again. Put the engine on the back, soap on the back end. See it go right across. There you go, guys. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun. And until next time, it's been me, Mega Manoa, and I'll see you at home.